Okay, everybody, we're going to get started here. Hi, thank you for joining our webinar regarding humidification systems for pharmaceutical manufacturing. My name is Abby Rogers, and I'll be facilitating this webinar. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, please submit them using the Questions tab in the left control bar. We'll be answering your questions once the presentation is complete. You will receive an email once the session has ended, which will include a short follow-up survey, a PDF copy of the presentation, and a 1-hour PDH certificate. Please participate in our follow-up survey. We very much appreciate your feedback. And I will now turn this over to Duncan Kurd, the Dry Steam Global Business Development Leader.
Good morning and welcome to our discussion on the role of humidity in the pharmaceutical manufacturing arena. Dry Steam has been supplying humidification solutions to pharmaceutical manufacturers for many years. Indeed, we count many of the largest pharmaceutical companies amongst our clientele. We have found that the role and impact of moisture control and maintaining optimal humidity levels is not always fully understood. Whilst there are guidelines, for example, the good manufacturing practices, there is often limited understanding of the reasons behind these. Our goal today is to highlight some areas where maintaining correct humidity levels may positively impact you or your client's manufacturing processes. I would be remiss in failing to mention that many of the topics we will cover today apply to other manufacturing processes and industries. Some of the topics around hygiene, human wellness, and reducing airborne transmission of viruses apply to other aspects of a pharmaceutical company's activities outside of the plant, such as in the office and in laboratories. Visit our website to view other pre-recorded WebExes around airborne transmission, as well as the role of humidity in laboratories. I've mentioned the need for better understanding humidity in pharmaceutical manufacturing. When we consider the significant growth expected in global pharmaceutical sales over the next few years, we can well imagine that this will drive not only new plant construction or additions, but also will require improved processes and greater productivity in order to meet these global demands. Of course, there are also other forces influencing manufacturers to meet other unexpected demands, such as the current drive for COVID vaccines. We have, as a supplier, experienced these pressures and have had a special COVID response policy to provide expedited deliveries of our equipment to COVID-related manufacturing facilities. We must also recognize that there are other drivers outside of the current pandemic that are fueling requirements, which include the need for reduced times to market, as well as demands for sustainability in areas such as energy and water usage. New and emerging therapies such as CAR-T cell genetic therapy are also placing unique demands on traditional production methods. We will look at some of these areas in more detail as we move through today's presentation. A quick graphic for those less familiar with the size and location of the current FDA and EMA certified facilities, showing the magnitude of current licenses. Not shown are unlicensed, as well as licenses issued by other authorities. Correct levels of relative humidity have long been recognized as important for hygiene and human health. The go-to standard within ASHRAE is the Stirling chart illustrated here. We see that viruses, bacteria, molds, or fungi, and other chemical interactions are less problematic between a 40 to 60% relative humidity level. This optimal level is a general sweet spot. Maintaining an optimal humidity range will improve process stability and manufacturing activities, meet regulatory requirements, improve quality and productivity, ensure stable storage for raw materials and shelf life for finished products, hygiene, and improve staff health and wellness. Now let's dive into some of the salient points, and firstly, the impact that humidity has on process stability. Maintaining optimal and consistent humidity levels ensures process stability and repeatability, conditions that are often critical, batch acceptance and compliance. Many processes are temperature and humidity dependent. We need to avoid or hydrolytic reactions, as well as to maintain consistent characteristics for materials. In addition to the impact on processing, areas such as tablet coating, filling, and packaging are reliant on stable ambient conditions. We shouldn't forget the additional need for maintaining storage of raw materials, as well as for those finished products. We previously mentioned laboratories, and we can consider testing and measurement in a similar light. Ensuring a stable environment, or IEQ, indoor environment quality, is not a nice to have for productivity or product quality, but a regulatory requirement laid out in a number of guidelines and certification and licensing requirements, such as CFR Title 21 and in the FDA's GMP or Good Manufacturing Practices. Temperature and humidity levels are mandated and a part of commissioning and validation. Here, unlike hospitals, where there are no specific guidelines after commissioning, pharmaceutical plants must maintain and record these levels. It's worth mentioning that track, trace, and product genealogy have long been part of the pharma plant world, much further ahead than many other industries.
Duncan, there's some radio interference, and I'm guessing it's from the headset that you're using. It's just kind of making you go in and out. So maybe just talk a little bit slower, if that would make sense.
Sure thing.
Okay.
No problem. Let's take a brief look at a few areas of the plant and where we see specific requirements for optimal humidity levels. This is just a snapshot, and of course we see tremendous variation depending on the end product and any specialized processes. As mentioned previously, these may also apply to some other allied areas such as reagent manufacturing. First up is storage. Raw material or ingredient storage often requires consistent, stable conditions. Efficacy of ingredients may be negatively impacted by any variation, and more practical considerations in terms of the consistency of materials for later processing, such as clumping or hardening, that must be taken into consideration. We must also ensure consistency, given that many materials' weight and dimensions may vary based on the humidity level. We will take a look at the role of humidity in dimensional stability in a later slide. Compounding very often requires extremely tight IEQ conditions where high accuracy solutions are required, typically plus or minus 1% of relative humidity. Tablet coating and pan coating are more often concerned with higher limits, but lower humidity levels must also be respected. Weights and measures are part of many processes, and as mentioned, the specific properties of materials may make this a critical area for stable humidification levels. Humidity also plays a direct and indirect role in many of the final processes, such as filling and packaging, where static may generate dust and build up on equipment. It also impacts consistency in high-speed printing and marking for water-based inks, which are reliant on consistent relative humidity levels. In addition to these areas, environmental chambers and laboratory analysis also require stable and specific IEQ. We've touched on the impact of relative humidity on some typical areas for manufacturing. We should note that maintaining stable and consistent levels within required guidelines has a direct effect on productivity and therefore on an organization's bottom line. Material or batch rejection or scrapping at any point in the process is costly, and logically the further into a process, the higher the cumulative cost, not only in terms of raw materials, but on subsidiary costs such as a batch test, and of course lost opportunity costs for the material processes. It is worth noting that we at DrySteam have helped customers to build mission-critical or redundant humidification systems. It's also worth noting that striving for a higher level of accuracy beyond actual prescribed levels is a strategy to reduce the impact of any unexpected environmental upsets and may also allow for the repurposing of the HVAC system for higher future demand products. Let's take a brief look at the role of humidity in maintaining dimensional stability.
Hey, Duncan.
Weight in hygroscopic materials.
Duncan, one more thing. Will you move your mic a little bit closer to your mouth and see if that helps a little bit as well?
Sure thing.
Thank you. All right.
Let's take a look now at where we add or shed moisture. Many key ingredients are hygroscopic in nature, and as such, maintaining consistent or a specific relative humidity matters greatly. Of course, this idea of dimensional stability applies not only to ingredients and raw materials, but also to processes. We have mentioned that it also impacts other industries such as printing and packaging, but also consider things like cabinetry and woodworking or electronic assembly. However, nowhere, with the exception of the semiconductor industry, is material consistency and stability more important than in the pharmaceutical industry, where efficacy and safety are tangibly related to material properties. We should also note that as materials become more costly and the industry is able to work with smaller and smaller materials, our solutions become more relevant and indeed critical. We can summarize the impact of hygroscopicity as a challenge with diverse material properties and a variety of process environments. The characteristics of these hygroscopic materials will have a direct and indirect impact on stability, appearance, and even the manufacturing process. Maintaining and controlling relative humidity will avoid unwanted reactivity and enhance their stability, leading to improved outcomes. One common characteristic the pharmaceutical industry shares with many other manufacturing industries is the need to control or eliminate static or electrostatic discharge, ESD. ESD can impact raw materials, preventing proper flow or conveyance at different stages of the process. It can cause clumping and agglomeration. It can damage sensitive equipment or impact readings, and where dust builds up, it can create hygiene and cleaning problems. It may also impact high-speed or precision machinery such as filling, printing, and packaging equipment. Pay particular attention to this equipment's recommended operating conditions and warranty requirements, which are often linked to the ambient conditions. Relative humidity not only plays a role in materials and processes, it also impacts staff. Numerous studies have pointed to optimal humidity levels generally considered to be between 40 and 60% as playing a role in improving human health and wellness and hence productivity. Reducing fatigue, improving mental alertness, and reducing the spread of infections indirectly contribute to productivity. Reducing absenteeism due to seasonal flus or even reducing the spread of COVID. In addition, these healthy levels of RH improve hygiene in a facility by reducing the growth of molds, viruses, and bacteria, and help with surface hygiene. The human body is composed of 2/3 water, and so we are sensitive to changes in moisture in the environment. We tend to notice the effects of too much or too little moisture in the space. The human body is better able to protect itself when not under stress and kept within a mid-range relative humidity. In addition, mid-range humidity is less favorable to viruses and bacteria. Studies have shown that by maintaining mid-range or optimal humidity, transmission and infections are reduced. Building on the notion of discomfort in low humidity environments, it dries out the human body. For example, skin dries out and eye dryness leads to irritation. Particles in the air also dry out, causing them to shrink in size. Our mucous membranes in our nose and throat dry out, reducing our ability to filter these particles. Having smaller particles and less ability to filter through those mucous membranes contributes to the increased infectivity of cold and flu viruses. In addition to the consequences of low relative humidity, there are several benefits to having the right relative humidity. This list includes several pertaining to comfort, and whilst more difficult to quantify, they also influence how people feel within a space and indirectly productivity. Another consideration is the concept of thermal comfort. Thermal comfort is that condition which expresses satisfaction with thermal comfort and is influenced by several factors. Being uncomfortable can be a distraction from learning and influence student performance, as well as works on the job. Humidity is one of the factors considered. One benefit of controlling relative humidity is the opportunity to alter the temperature within the space. For example, a humidified room would still feel comfortable if the temperature was slightly in winter, saving on heating costs. Let's now practical challenges. We're likely to face a number of scenarios which will dictate the choice of equipment. You may need to expand or increase the current capacity of equipment. You may need to improve efficiency or increase accuracy. With COVID restrictions, you may need to increase the number of air exchanges requiring greater humidification capacity. In these and other scenarios, numerous options may exist to help you achieve your goals. There are typically three basic options for locating equipment: within the air handler, within a duct, or within a space, for example, within a room or a larger facility. Capacity, available space, energy source, accuracy, redundancy, maintenance requirements, and total cost of ownership, as well as future considerations, will all play a role in determining the right equipment and setup. Rest assured that Dry Steam and our agents have a solution that is right for you or for your clients. Let's take a very high-level look at some equipment choices. On the left, you will see isothermal options or steam-based solutions. If you have boiler or process steam available, that may be your first option. Please note that if this is straight boiler steam that may be treated, you should consider using a steam exchange solution to boil clean water to avoid any boiler chemicals or contaminants in the atmosphere. If you have natural gas available, a gas-fired unit may be your next best option for a lower overall energy cost and the possibility for high capacities. And of course, electricity is generally available and may be your choice, particularly for small loads or in-room applications. Note that where higher accuracy is required, a resistive or heater element unit will likely be significantly more accurate than, say, an electrode unit. Moving to the right, we see some adiabatic system choices. These are attractive where either cooling is a desirable option. And remember, many industrial facilities have excess process heat. Adiabatic solutions may also be preferred where hot, dry external conditions exist. If higher accuracies are required, then a high-pressure atomization system may be your first choice. HPA systems are capable of multi-zone control and can be used in fairly small spaces, as well as with ceiling heights as low as 10 feet. In addition, high-pressure atomization systems can operate on your process water, either reverse osmosis, RO, or DI, deionized water, or ultra-pure water. If more general levels of humidity are required, and space is available in duct or in the air handler, a wetted media system may be appropriate. Remember also that systems can be mixed and matched, where lower accuracy and higher capacity centralized systems can be married with a local or zonal high accuracy unit that can be trimmed to meet the required process requirements. Humidification depends on water and equipment and is at the mercy of the water you choose to feed it. Simple operation and the amount of maintenance is directly related to water quality. The use of water treatment is highly recommended. Water treatment can reduce maintenance requirements, which in turn reduce equipment downtime, as well as prevent any unintended equipment failures. Fortunately, most pharmaceutical facilities will have processed water available. We should also note that in addition to water treatment for mission-critical systems, redundant systems should be considered. A quick word to control. With processes often having variation and higher outside air exchanges, higher accuracy and faster responding systems may be required. Dry Steam can provide high accuracy resistive units utilizing solid-state relay technology and state-of-the-art vapor logic controllers. In addition to resistive, high-pressure atomization is also capable of high accuracy and fast response. All of our systems are available with BACnet and other building management protocols to ensure an effective control strategy is achieved. A further note on controls: if we are controlling for relative humidity, we must recall that relative humidity is linked to temperature. A 1 degree Fahrenheit change in temperature will result in a 3% change in relative humidity. You can see that any attempt to maintain a high degree of accuracy and stable process conditions will also require tight temperature control from your other systems. Let's consider a few basic steps to check your site for compliance. In a site survey, we can take local readings with a hygrometer, make sure it has the necessary level of accuracy required for your processes. Check the humidifier and see that it is operating correctly. You can adjust the set point as required. Work with your local dry steam agent to explore options. Of course, you also need to ensure that the building envelope can maintain the required humidity levels. Commercial grade humidification provides the control you need to maintain proper levels. Not too low and not too high. Simple access to power, water, and a drain is all you need to get a system operational. Pretty much in any location, even if there's only a sink nearby in a laboratory environment. Our DryCalc load sizing software is available at no charge to engineers, contractors, and end users. Your local rep can also determine appropriate size and type of equipment in as little as a day. With DrySteam's local US manufacturing and expedite capacity, a solution can be rapidly implemented. Equipment can be ordered and on-site in just a few weeks, sometimes even faster, and installed in a day or two. You can count on a system from DrySteam to provide superior performance, protecting your facility and your investment. Now let's take a look at a real-world example of a biotech plant provided by Rich Costa, our agent in Ireland, Intelligent Building Controls, or IBC. A bit of background: this client produces neurovascular catheters and coils for the healthcare industry. Their plant runs 24/7. Their energy manager is constantly on the hunt for new projects to lower energy usage and cost. And they currently run with redundant air handling units, each with DrySteam's original first-generation GTS 400 humidifiers. The current GTS systems are aging, and they are reaching a point of higher cost of maintenance. Plant downtime is more frequent, and there's no redundancy within each AHU. Some of the goals for the project were to save energy, create a robust and resilient system, limit the downtime during the project, and lower the carbon emissions. IBC provided the humidification engineering support to their contract partner, infotech, who had provided the current system's mechanical engineering, installation, and commissioning, and who had a proven track record at similar nearby sites. The decision with the client was to upgrade to the new GTS LX humidifiers, which are fully condensing and low NOx, providing a more energy efficient and environmentally friendly solution, and to pair these with our HT series resistive humidifiers for high accuracy and redundancy. In addition to upgrading to high-efficiency gas generators, the existing dispersion tubes were already high-efficiency insulated units that reduced condensate to drain with resulting energy and water savings. We saw some other energy savings from their project by just upgrading to the more thermally efficient units. We know we were giving them at least a 10% energy savings over the older GTS systems. They're maintaining their systems with the insulated tubes on the rapid sorbs, and with the new LX, they were able to lower their carbon emissions with the new ultra-low NOx product. The existing dispersion tubes were already high efficiency. We should note that low NOx is not currently mandated in the US, with the exception of California. However, it is a more environmentally friendly solution. We should also note that the switch to high efficiency condensing units may be eligible for grants either at a state or local utility level. Gas and electricity grants exist in a number of jurisdictions. For this install, our partner, infotech, designed pre-plumbed HT35 resistive humidifier skids for fast deployment. This allowed us to put them on site and have limited plumbing and electrical connections. They connected to the existing rapid absorb dispersion systems. These could then provide humidification while the older GTS units were upgraded to LX systems. The HT skids then became a backup system for each air handler. The final design was an LX and HT unit on skids for each AHU. We provided full bore isolation valves as the customer had a worry about steam backflowing onto the humidifiers that weren't active. This upgrade program allowed the reuse of their rapid absorbs that were already installed in the AHUs. There was no need to go through that exercise. And now they have a system that can provide steam, whether they're in maintenance mode or not. And they have a failover system in case one or the other systems fail, ensuring no disruptions in process, downtime, or spoiled product. The possibility exists to increase overall system capacity if required, and they have improved their environmental footprint with lower energy costs. All of the above would not be possible without our network of humidification experts. With Dry Steam and our partners, you have a qualified, quality, reliable solution supported by our team and our partners. We look forward to assisting you with your humidification needs, and don't forget to bookmark drysteam.com for a range of technical information and guidance, and subscribe to our newsletters, YouTube channel, and of course follow us on LinkedIn. And now, Abby, over to the questions.
Sure. So if you guys have any questions, please use the questions tab in the left control bar. We'll wait a few minutes here. And Duncan, would you want to pull that back up on your screen, actually, just in case someone asks you to go back?
A sure thing.
We'll just wait a couple minutes for any questions, and if we don't get any, then we will wrap this up. All right, Duncan, there's a couple questions in the questions tab. Do you want me to read them off for you, or would you like to read them?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
We can, if you want to read them off, Abby.
Yep, no problem. Do you need a bucket or float and thermostatic steam trap for the generator, or you use P-trap only, model GTS or vapor mist?
The GTS has a skimming function and also an intelligent level control. We're also just adding a smart micro drain feature. Depending on the arrangement of the dispersion, we likely would look at a P-trap, but it would depend on the actual application and the length of the run. And we can send the relevant portions of the IOM to you if you're interested in looking at the installation requirements.
Perfect. There's another question. It says, how will the PDH be available? That will be sent out after the session ends. I will be sending that out. So just keep an eye on your email inbox for that. Next question is, could you go over why you would choose a certain method of producing humidity again? Example, HPA versus resistive.
Sure, it's going to be highly dependent, first of all, on the load size required, on the space, obviously, the nature, again, of the materials in terms of the requirement for accuracy. Typically, we're going to be looking at trying to size the equipment to meet that expected as well as future demand. Again, things like air changes will play a role. So it's a very wide range of considerations that we have to be aware of as we go to size that. I can share some examples. If we had an extremely large space, perhaps a warehousing application, whilst we could have a centralized system coming from the air handler or installed in duct, we might also look at using a high pressure system, which would have a more dispersed set of heads, whether those are nozzles or fan-assisted distribution units, again, depending on ceiling height as well, and the conditions that are required. What is the actual load? If we end up with much smaller spaces, we might even see an area that could only be a matter of a dozen feet or more. Then we would be looking at a much smaller solution. Possibly could be high pressure as part of a larger system, but more likely would be an electric type unit.
How often should be skimming for those models? Or how often should...
So the
Go ahead.
The VaporLogic unit controller will optimize skimming to reduce the amount of contaminant or particulate. So we're really looking at removing suspended minerals in that foam. Obviously, we want to balance reducing the maintenance and keeping that water as clear as possible, along with reducing the amount of energy use and water usage. And the VaporLogic will optimize for that.
Are your humidifiers OSPD seismic rated?
We have a number of units that are OSPOD. For those that aren't familiar with the OSPOD certification, this is required particularly in California, but there are some other jurisdictions. Again, most frequently for emergency locations, those that may be required in the event of a natural catastrophe, not just seismic, but it's principally around seismic. And we can certainly share those units that have OSPOD rating. We are finalizing OSPOD rating on our latest resistive. Our gas units have that, as well as our distribution.
How is the blowdown performed for GTS or vapor mist models?
So again, the VaporLogic unit will generally provide an optimized level, but you can manually add values in. There is that balance with blowdown between trying to reduce any of the concentration of minerals that of course then leads to maintenance versus the reduction in the amount of water being consumed and therefore energy. So again, that's something that you can adjust yourself, but we have a wide range of settings that can be chosen through the VaporLogic controller.
Can the RH levels controls react quickly enough to adjust humidifier output, or are trending data acquisition and predictive control compulsory software considerations?
That would again depend on the nature of the application, size of space, size of humidifier, whether that's existing or new. So we really would have to look at the individual requirements there to make a recommendation.
With 40% RH as the minimum, the dew point will be between 43 degrees Fahrenheit to 46 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the room temperature, or 43F to 46F, depending on the room temperature. In cold climates where the outdoor air can be negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit, what prevents condensation on cold surfaces such as windows and metal window frames?
So it's a great question. One of the biggest challenges that we have when we try to humidify space in the north, of course, is concerns about the building envelope. Ideally, the building envelope has been designed and constructed to be able to withstand those levels. If they are not, then you're going to have to either look at a variation. Depending on the process, it may be necessary to reduce during those cold periods, providing a setback based on outdoor temperature or conditions. Again, it's going to be application and building condition dependent.
For the example project, how was the transition to the backup unit done? Was the customer okay with a brief disruption in conditions, or were they able to make it seamless?
The gas units provided the principal or primary humidification, and because the HT was sized in such a way, it was possible to bring them online quite quickly. It was not seamless in terms of maintaining plus or minus 1% accuracy. However, that wasn't required in this particular installation.
Can you talk about dispersion and water quality?
So dispersion systems, when we talk about steam systems, should typically not be impacted by water quality because we're dealing with clean steam. dispersion systems, if we're considering the atomization nozzles or fan-assisted atomization, would see differences in terms of water quality, mainly in terms of misting or dusting. For those of you that have seen high pressure systems, if we're using straight RO water, we're going to see some dusting on surfaces. This may not be a problem and may not be considered to be a dangerous or hygienic issue. However, if we want to eliminate all dusting, we would move to deionized or technical water. For isothermal systems, again, the main consideration there is simply the maintenance requirements when we're looking at the heating elements, electrodes, and so on. Heat exchanger as well.
What is the minimum recommended entering dry bulb air temperature to humidifier dispersion tube and AHU?
Again, it's going to be dependent on the application, so I don't think I can give a particular answer to that. We could check with our applications engineering team if I'm mistaken.
Okay. Can deionized water be used in the steam humidifiers? Would this greatly reduce maintenance?
Absolutely. You have to be careful that you're obviously specifying a unit that's stainless steel. We have a number of units designed specifically for deionized water. We have versions for our HT series, Vapor Mist series, but our latest new released resistive unit, the RTS, has been designed to operate with both potable RO, reverse osmosis, and deionized water. So this is a great choice where you're unsure, or again, if you want to have future proof where a process or water quality might change.
All right, those are all the questions that I am seeing right now. Maybe wait a couple more minutes here. All right,
a great set of questions, and if there are further questions, please feel free to email us. We'd be happy to reach out and answer any of those or clarify any of the points that were raised.
We have one more. Does dry steam have an ultrasonic humidifier option? If not, could you explain why dry steam's approach is preferred?
Ultrasonic units are actually under development However, at this point, we deem ultrasonic to be generally fairly high maintenance, and we've been discussing applications and requirements that we're looking, number one, at high hygiene, and number two, at high reliability, low maintenance. Ultrasonic units can be problematic with respect to maintenance and also can be problematic with respect to hygiene. So they do require a higher degree of care. And for that reason, we generally will advocate clean steam or hygienic systems like our high pressure units with appropriate water treatment.
All right, Duncan, it looks like that's all we have for today. If you want to wrap it up.
Great. Well, thank you, everybody, for your time. We look forward to answering any future questions and supporting any projects that you may have. Have a wonderful day and a wonderful afternoon.